Marketing is about values.
Nike didn't call me and sell me this in a catalog. I bought this swoosh because it's ingrained in my soul.
When you have a product that really resonates with customers, the word of mouth grows like wildfire.
So, dude, did you catch any of the Alex Hormozi Master Crazy book launch event?
I did. My LinkedIn feed has been full of a lot of it. Some people, talking about the masterfulness of it. Some people hating on him. I think the people that hate on him have never actually consumed a lot of his content. I actually just had a text thread with two buddies who are also Hormozi fans talking about the book. How much is freaking in that? So I didn't attend the live stream. I didn't take him up on all the offers, but I've definitely been keyed into it this week, man, for sure.
Yeah, so I think you're right. Some people are really just going hard at the guy, saying, why are we promoting and celebrating $100 million in one day, selling a book or selling a bunch of different books? I have a handful of friends that not only paid the $6,000 offer, but also apparently after you paid the $6,000 offer, they upsold you 6 months of a $3,000 a month community and course and coaching situation. So I have like a good 4 or 5 friends that I text with regularly that each paid the $24K total for everything. But like you, I didn't watch the live stream. My friend, a handful of my friends offered to give me one of their 200 books, and mine I think should be coming today or tomorrow. But the reason I bring this up is because for the last 6 or so months since my daughter was born, I really haven't consumed a lot of podcasts, but My First Million is still by far my favorite podcast, besides ours, of course. So if you're new to the show, please go ahead and like and subscribe or follow or whatever platform you're listening to. Stick with us. But I flew last week for the first time with my 6-month-old, and she slept, thank God, like the whole 5-hour flight.
Oh, nice.
To the other side of the country. Is very, very, very lucky. And so I got to really like binge and crush a lot of podcasts. And I intentionally listened to all of the most recent My First Million episodes with Alex Hormozi, obviously to hype up his event. It was right before the event. And something really stuck with me out of like the 3 or 4 hours of Hormozi interviews that I consumed that I can't get out of my head. And he was talking about specifically building a cult following for your personal brand. And this just goes to show you that he is a real student of the game. If you want to make money, if you want to be successful in anything, you have to be a student of the game. And he said the best example or the epitome of a cult following is Martha Stewart. And if you put Alex Hormozi and Martha Stewart next to each other, I mean, not only height, but just like size and the look is so different. Their target audiences are completely different, right? Martha Stewart, housewives or ladies. Alex Hormozi, freaking, tech pros,
guys, yeah,
course slingers, like totally different. But the fact that he recognized how Martha Stewart built her cult following blew me away, and it's something I've been really sticking with that I wanted to share with you. He said what Martha Stewart did exceptionally well to earn her cult following really fast is she gave people simple, easy to follow, repeatable processes and systems to get a very quick positive outcome that led people to subconsciously go, oh, Martha Stewart helped me get that outcome pretty easily. If I want similar outcomes, I'm going to go back to Martha Stewart for that. And the example he gave was her very first book was recipes,
right?
And they were unique recipes that made slightly more sophisticated dishes than most people were making at that time, or at least than most recipes were making.
Be able to impress your friends a little bit with, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And she said this book is to help you have really great dishes, really great meals at a party, to your point, Logan, to impress your friends, right? Impress your family. And so you would follow these step-by-step guides. People would be like, oh my God, this recipe is amazing. Hey, Logan, thanks so much for making this. And you would say, well, I was able to have this little dopamine hit or have people think I'm awesome or I'm a good cook because of Martha Stewart. So simple, repeatable, easy to follow systems and processes that delivered a quick, positive outcome. That way, the next time she came out with another book or even something else to sell you, you had a positive affinity with her because she helped you do that. And and Alex Hormozi said he tries to do the same thing with his YouTube content, which is now like his biggest platform, and where he really teaches like and educates a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners or wannapreneurs, people who want to be entrepreneurs who don't know the difference between, you know, CAC and LTV and all these different things. So, so that kind of like blew me away, and it got me thinking, well, if I was to create a book or if I was to create even like a mini lead magnet or a free little like ebook, what is the simple, straightforward, easy to implement process that I can share with people to have them get a quick positive outcome to build that brand affinity as fast as possible? I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they are constantly trying to come up with hot takes, because the truth is a lot of people don't have hot takes, and they think hot takes is how to go viral and how to grow a personal brand. You have to stand for something, but in reality, you don't need that. And I just can't stop thinking about the Alex Hormozi, Martha Stewart reference, the way to grow a cult following. Alex Hormozi is clearly following Martha Stewart's playbook. What do you think about all this?
Well, I think it reminds me of a podcast episode I did several years back with a friend of mine, Chris Dubois. And we were talking about how in B2B marketing, especially, most lead magnets suck. There's some sort of content, there may be some tips, maybe some research, but oftentimes they're too much to consume, and why they don't get consumed because they're not tied to a very specific problem. And to your point, a specific quick win that the prospect can get. So whether you're talking like a B2C example of Martha Stewart and giving them a process that's literally a recipe, or in B2B, let's say, you're a website development agency, and hey, here's something that you could implement to improve your conversion rate on this landing page by 5%, go into it. Here's the 5 steps. It's like general stuff about conversion rate optimization. Those sorts of lead magnets aren't going to perform. So, I think whether it's B2C or B2B, it reminds me of, like, we all know that people buy from people they know, like, and trust. And a lot of our content stops at the know and like, right? Just push out a lot of content so you see me. Hopefully you like me because I'm adding some value, or maybe I have a stance or a POV, a hot take that you agree with. But how am I going to get them to trust me? They've got to follow my advice. And I think, that lead magnet or the smaller offer like a book or whatever it is, if you can help them solve a small problem, then they will trust you to solve a bigger problem. And one of the things Hormozi always references is solve rich people problems, right? Well, if you are solving rich people problems and you're selling something with high consideration and high ticket value, that doesn't just happen overnight. They've got to have a good bit of trust. And so I think that this holds true for B2C, for B2B, any of us who are selling and marketing anything, man.
I love that example of making the lead magnet as quick of a win and as clear of what the win will be as possible.
Yes.
It's giving me a lot of ideas for a new offer I plan to introduce at the beginning of September. Something, obviously, if you've listened to this podcast before, my one of my main businesses is a done for you newsletter service. And so I always see people who post content who run similar businesses to me saying, okay, give me your email and I'll give you 10 ways to grow your email list tomorrow. Right. And it's pretty much there. It's close. Like, people want to grow their email list. They want to do it fast. Right. But to take it a step further, I think what we do really well is converting subscribers into customers. Right. And so if there's a lead magnet, 3 easy ways to convert your newsletter subscribers into customers today, then I could send people to that landing page, collect their email, and then I could use my own S2 to then qualify them and say, hey, do you currently have a newsletter? Right. Okay, you don't currently have a newsletter, but you downloaded this ebook. So do you want a newsletter? Yes. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you want a newsletter? Okay, I want, and you can't say 7. Okay, at 8 or 9 or 10s, I would then say, well, we could handle all of this for you, and it's only X amount per month. Would you be interested in booking a call to learning more and seeing how we can help you grow and monetize your newsletter? Right. And I didn't think about that for this new kind of like pivot of my offer, but do you think that would work given what you were talking about on that other episode?
Yeah. And I think, I mean, you could maybe even test this. Like, does the 3 easy ways to grow the newsletter perform better, or splitting those into very specific lead magnets of like whatever those 3 ways are? Maybe there's something for someone who's just getting started. Like, you want to start a newsletter, but you're not sure, what to get started. Or maybe you're struggling more with conversion. Like, you could drill down even more into those specific pain points, which well, because you've got dozens of clients who are using your newsletter lead gen service. And so then you could, you can kind of tailor the offer depending on what is the pain point that they've risen their hand. If you're giving them 3, or if you're giving them 10, it's like, yeah, they want to grow their newsletter, but where are they struggling? And you could tease some of that out in the questions that you ask in the S2 and take them down different paths. But you might even be able to see a higher conversion rate if you just lead with one of those specific symptoms. Maybe that's too niche, but that's my first thought. Maybe worth testing between those 2 routes.
So this brings me to another question, which is, I used to do a lot of public speaking at conferences, at events, and I had kind of the same deck that I would go through most of my public speaking engagements. I'd walk through 5 simple growth hacks, and they were kind of like Martha Stewart type recipes. It was like, okay, here's step 1, here's step 2, here's the tool you need. Like, Martha Stewart would say, get eggs and 3/4 flour and whatever.
Here's all the
okay, you need like this exact plan on unbounce.com, and it's $139, and you need this type of ad and this and this. Okay, step 1, step 2, and I'd walk through like slide by slide, and I had 5, and every single time, and I'm not just saying this for ego, like genuinely, every single time people would walk up to me and say, that was the best speech of the day. I'm going to implement, all 5, or this one really, like I needed this one specifically because it really speaks to my business or the pain point I'm having right now. And I never, ever, ever could figure out how to take that to the next level beyond the in-person speaking engagements or even doing it virtually as a webinar. And so one idea that popped in my head that I would love your feedback on is I was like, what if I put together a book, not because I want to be like Alex Hormozi, but just because I want to help people and I have a lot of these growth hacks. What if I put together a book with like 30 little growth hacks? I was thinking of maybe even using the Martha Stewart theme, calling it like marketing recipes or growth hacks recipes or something. Do you think that would work in the same way to build that quick affinity, that cult following, if there's 30 different marketing hacks? Or do you think that would be overwhelming and it really needs to be more of a single concept in a book, like Alex Hormozi's first book that put him on the map, $100 million offers? That whole thing is basically about how to de-risk your sale, de-risk the buying of your product or service. And the whole book was around that one kind of concept, that one growth hack, that one kind of like main compelling recipe and a couple different variations of it. Do you think it has to be that? Or do you think it can be a book of 30 different, easy to follow, high converting, quick win growth hacks?
It's worth testing. I could see either way, because that text thread I was mentioning about with my 2 buddies talking about the new Hormozi book, $100 million money models. One of them was like, this book is so dense, it could take me 10 years to implement everything in it. Right. Which is a good thing, but also, can be a bad thing in a way. And so that comment makes me think, hey, maybe that is, too much. However, at the same time, you've already gotten like signals from the market when you did this breaking down 3 to 5 that people were leaning in, and this is super valuable. If you had a book with 10 or 30 or whatever it is, you could break down each one of those into specific quick offers, and then the book is the upsell, and then you have an upsell from there. So it actually maybe becomes the second offer in your offer stack or your offer ladder, and you have lead magnets for each one, and it's like, hey, do you want all of these? And then the book is the second offer. So I'm just brainstorming here, but maybe it's a yes and sort of thing.
Like he has in his new offer the 12 playbooks that you could buy in addition that drill down into each one. Right, that could be an option too. Yeah, that was my concern because 80% of people who buy any B2B book never read it. Right. And then maybe 10% of people who even read a page will implement anything.
Right. Right.
So my concern was if I put out a book that has 30 different growth hacks, if you only have time to implement one and that particular one might be more challenging or doesn't fit your business exactly, you're not going to have that affinity, or let's call it that Martha Stewart, Alex Hormozi affinity. So
Right.
I appreciate that context. I think if you're listening at this point in the episode, take some time, take a blank piece of paper and write down what is your recipe that you can constantly push people to get them that quick win, to get that buy-in, to get that brand affinity, to get that trust.
Yeah. Yeah. And one tip for that, think about the big problem that your product or service solves. What are the smaller symptoms that people are feeling day to day that they think they need to solve, but they actually need to go deeper and solve that bigger problem, but they're not going to do that until they're sufficiently agitated. So you need to think about, like, what is the big problem that we solve, but what's that day-to-day symptom and how can I help them solve that? So instead of like, hey, we offer surgery, what is your Band-Aid? What are some Band-Aids that you can offer? That's how you give them the quick wins, that quick feeling of relief. So that's kind of the mental model I use and the analogy that's in my head.
I love the concept of a Band-Aid. You snuck that in there at the very end of the episode. The concept of like, what's something that's probably broken in their business that they don't know about, or they just don't have enough time to get to because they're so busy putting out all these other fires, that if you just gave them that Band-Aid to fix, it's a lot easier to fix something than it is to start a whole new campaign or try a whole new marketing channel or anything else.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys next time. Fun. Like and subscribe. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Max show. It takes me and my team hours to produce it every single week, but it only takes you 15 seconds to hit that share button and text it to a friend, drop it in a Slack group, or share it on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or any of your favorite social platforms. I appreciate you taking the time to check out my content. Have an awesome day.